Train to Busan is widely regarded as one of the most effective modern zombie films, blending high stakes action with genuine emotional depth. After finally watching it, I can easily see why it has developed such a strong reputation. I would say this film delivers tension, fast-paced sequences with the infected, while also grounding the chaos within the film in a story that has real heart. I would also go on and say that while this movie is set largely abroad on a speeding train during a sudden zombie outbreak, this film wastes very little time establishing its central characters. At the center of the story is a fund manager named Suwok Woo, played by Gong Yu, who is traveling with his young daughter. What happens as a simple train trip quickly spirals into a desperate fight for survival as the infection spreads rapidly throughout the train's carriages. Um, and so I would also go on to say that the one of the film's biggest strengths is how tense many of the scenes are. So the confined space of the train creates a natural sense of claustrophobia, and the infected zombies move with frightening speed and aggression. Several of the scenes in the particular movie, um, those were they were characters most quietly that navigate through dark train cars full of zombies. Generally, those scenes are generally suspenseful and keep the tension high throughout the movie. So, as I've said, I really enjoyed this movie, but what really surprised me though um, was how much heart the story had. The emotional core secret scenes between the mother and daughter, the father and daughter, gives the film more weight than a typical zombie horror movie. Their relationship evolves as the film progresses and the crisis unfolds, and the film takes time to explore themes of sacrifice, compassion, and what it means to protect others when you're in a terrible situation. Um, and also when society begins to collapse, these moments help balance the relentless action and make the stakes feel more personal rather than purely spectacle driven and like spectacle driven scenes. From a filmmaking perspective, I would say the movie is executed extremely well. The pacing rarely drags, and the choreography of the zombie attacks I would say, is really impressive. And the cinematography makes great use of the claustrophobic ambience of the train setting. The film constantly finds inventive ways to stage the zombie action sequences within narrow corridors and hallways within the trains and just the overall atmosphere of the train. And I would say and also the movie keeps the visuals engaging. That said, there were a couple of small issues for me personally that I had with the movie. I would I would have liked a bit more gore, especially considering how intense some of the attacks were in the film. Um, the film tends to focus more on tension and emotion rather than graphic horror and scares. I also found it slightly distracting that some of the characters seem to turn into zombies almost immediately after being bitten, while others took noticeably longer, mainly the main characters to turn into zombies. The inconsistency stood out at times and briefly pulled me out of the immersive experience of the film. Still, these are relatively minor complaints in what is otherwise a very strong film. Train to Busan succeeds because it combines thrilling zombie action with an emotional story at its core that makes that actually makes you care about the characters. By the time the film reaches its conclusion, the the emotional payoff feels earned and impactful. And so overall, it's a gripping, well directed zombie movie with real heart at its center. Even with a few minor flaws, it stands out as one of the more memorable zombie movies that have came out in the last 10 years. So my rating for this movie is 3.5 out of 5. This is the first time I've seen the movie, and the I regret not seeing it a lot earlier. Typically, I'm not really a fan of zombie movies only because I find them to be very similar, and I like my zombie movies to be very gory and scary. But this movie was really good, and yeah, I'm glad it has a very popular reputation. I know that there's a sequel. I hear that it's a standalone sequel. It's not really it doesn't really have anything to do with this movie, but I'm gonna try and check it out later tonight, and we'll make a review of it shortly.